Finally going to talk about it, folks. It's coming. Hello one, hello all. I am CP. You're not welcome to this edition of 1999 Best Movie Year Ever. This episode is May of 1999. A month that I would argue probably is either the blueprint or set the precedent for what cinema and movie going would look like for at least a couple of decades, and what the formula would be. May 1999 was the first month where we had that blockbuster look at movies that could do much more than just be one movie every month. May 1999 told us that, oh no, we can have multiple movies be at the top and have a ton of interest, and leftovers from 2 weeks before and all that, and the chaos that ensued. The first movie that opened up May was The Mummy, which was Universal taking their classic horror property and making a popcorn action movie out of it. And it worked. Whether or not you liked The Mummy and what it was a good time. If you're a Universal Monsters purist, you're probably not very happy with the way things worked out. But The Mummy rejuvenated something for Universal, and they got a franchise out of it. And it was a successful film. Lots of people went out to see it, and that when it comes to summertime, that's all we gauge anymore is, did people go see it? Okay, it did well. That good movie. Next, the counter programming for that month was Tea with Mussolini, which had Cher, and one of her very limited roles. She, at this point especially, Cher certainly wasn't acting nearly as regularly as she was in the 80s. Not that she was making 6 movies a year. I know her from maybe 3 movies, and Mask is the one that sticks out the most. But I remember from my time at the theater, lots of seniors enjoyed Tea with Mussolini. I have not seen this movie. Nor has anybody that I speak to or are in multiple circles in my movie community universe. So look it up if you have interest. Tea with Mussolini. I'm assuming it has something to do with somebody drinking tea with Mussolini. Something that was a bit of a miss was The 13th Floor, which had Gretchen Mol in it. It came and went, and it has its fans, not ones that I know. Another movie that I certainly could not get to discuss it. I know it was a bit of a miss, and keep in mind, people are still going to see The Matrix at this point. So you have The Matrix leftovers, you have people spilling over from The Mummy. There just wasn't much room for this 13th Floor movie that didn't really get much hype, didn't get much marketing, and it was the calm before the storm. That storm, of course, being
Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Holy shit. For me, the year of 1999 was completely dominated by my obsession with Star Wars and the excitement that a new film was coming out. I was just beside myself. I remember the trailer showing on TV. There was like a morning show called GMTV or something like that, I think, and they were screening the trailer at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I got up, taped it, watched it over and over again before school, was bouncing off the walls with excitement. A new Star Wars film. Holy shit. This was a franchise I became a huge fan of when I was about 7 years old, and here I am now, like 11, and there's this new film coming out, and it was just like, I remember going to Disneyland in Paris that year, that summer of 1999. I actually saw George Lucas there, which was a surreal experience, but I remember getting from Disneyland like the Darth Maul mask and cloak and double-edged lightsaber, and that was the big thing, the two-handed lightsaber. That was like, holy shit. But honestly, I can't really give you like I don't know when I watched The Phantom Menace. Oh wait, I do. Okay, so it was in 1999, but it wasn't in a cinema. It was in a sun-drenched room in my friend's house. So like the perfect viewing conditions for a film like this, just sun beating in, like you're seeing your own reflection on the screen, and I watched it on my friend's dad's computer. He told me that, oh, my dad's got the new Star Wars film on his PC. I was like, what is it, like an animated film or something? I couldn't possibly conceive of a pirated copy of a movie. And so I went over his house and watched it, and I couldn't believe it. And actually, a fun fact, the shot where Darth Maul gets falls down the big pits, his body didn't fall and split in half. And so for years, kids would say, oh, it's like that part where he gets split in half. I'm like, what are you talking about? That never happened. I don't know if this is a Mandela effect where I actually did see it and just didn't realize it, but for years I thought that never happened until I got the DVD. I think I had the VHS as well, but to me, Phantom Menace is like the excitement of it and just getting to see a new Star Wars film, but I didn't get the chance to properly experience it because it just wasn't possible. I couldn't go to the cinema near me, which is like an hour and a half away, I think, the nearest city, because I lived out in the countryside in England at the time, on a military base garrison town near Stonehenge. And so it just wasn't possible to go see it in the cinema. So for me, the big Star Wars film of my youth was Episode 2. That was the first one I saw in the cinema that was a brand new Star Wars film. But Phantom Menace, I mean, that was the movie of the summer, right? A new Star Wars movie after nearly 20 years, and the hype around that was inescapable. Even if I never got to see the film itself in the cinema, just the excitement was palpable. Like, everyone was talking about it. The toys were everywhere. I had all the toys, even though I hadn't even seen the film yet. You know, it was just one of those things that captured something super exciting. And the film itself is, you know, I like it a lot. It might be my favorite of the prequels, but there's just a tangible quality to it that the other two don't have, and when they're all just green screened everywhere, which is fine. I don't mind that, but seeing those real locations, they went on to, you know, actual places in Europe and filmed outdoor stuff, and it just feels more real, more crisp. It was shot on film. That makes a difference to me when watching it in high definition. It just feels like more of a movie, you know, not to discredit the other two, but you know, it has its high moments. You know, the pod racing, holy shit, the score, fuck me, you know, the lightsaber fight at the end, and there's a lot of great thematic stuff going on there. I think George is a great storyteller. He's not a good dialogue writer, and I think that there's a weird kind of quandary going on there where he wants to make children's movies, and he says that Star Wars is for children, but the prequel trilogy is very much just dripping with like political with political plots, which are very interesting, especially as an adult when you really start to connect the dots. But as a kid, it's like,
is it in their nature to make us wait this long?
No, I sense an unusual amount of fear for something as trivial as this trade dispute.
and where it stands in the whole Star Wars, you know, series is it's an interesting one. I like the story of Anakin. I like Jake Lloyd's performance in it. Hot take. Not quite so. More of a lukewarm take, because I've had it for 20 years now. But yeah, it's one of those strange things that it got a lot of hate, and that was, I think, well, I don't know. I think maybe the hate for Star Wars really began in Return of the Jedi, when people got their knickers in a twist over the fact that there were teddy bears in the movie and they're just trying to sell toys. Anyway, so Phantom Menace. It's a special one, just as the event that it was, more than the film itself, I think, and that's really my overriding feeling of the film. When I think back to when it was first released in that year of 1999, was the event of it more than the actual finished product.
Hey, Sean Chandler here from Sean Chandler Talks About, and I actually have very fond and nostalgic memories of when the Phantom Menace came out. As a lifelong Star Wars fan, the idea that I was going to get a new Star Wars movie was just incredible to me. The idea of it was massive to me, and it was in those early days of when I was starting to get into internet fandom. Obviously, internet fandom in and of itself was new back in the 90s, and I was as much involved in it as I could be as a high schooler at that time. But going back a few years before that, the final version of the original trilogy before the special edition, there's this THX. They heavily promoted it. And George Lucas did this interview series with Leonard Maltin, and there's this interview at the introduction to each of the movies.
Now, did you try to tell the whole story in one script?
Well, at that point, it wasn't the whole story. I wrote a script, and the script was very ambitious. It told a very large story. When I finished it, I realized that it was way too big to make into a movie. So I took the first part of it, sort of the first act, and I said, I'll make the movie about this.
And then later in it, he mentioned that he's already started writing episode 1, the prequels, and we're like, wait, this is really happening? It's not just rumors and stuff like that. He's really doing this. And so my excitement level was just kind of through the roof for them. And at the time, the special editions, they were released in theaters, and those were a big deal for me. Seeing those movies on the big screen with some deleted scenes, and of course, history hasn't been terribly kind to the special editions, and there's a lot of frustrations with them that are all valid, and I would agree with most of them. But the idea that we got Star Wars back on the big screen from my generation, that was a big deal, because I'd grown up watching them on VHS, and now I'm seeing them on the big screen. All of this leading to even more excitement as we learned a new Star Wars movie is coming. And the first trailer for Phantom Menace, or the trailer for Phantom Menace, it's tough to articulate just how exciting that trailer was. If you rewatch it now, it feels like a very dated trailer, and you know how to interpret all this stuff that you're seeing in it with Jar Jar and everything. And so then it just looks like, okay, it's a trailer for Phantom Menace. At the time, though, it was just like, this is happening. Look at how fast it is. There's a guy with a double-bladed lightsaber, and these Jedi are in full Jedi mode, and they're flipping all around. This is amazing. I even remember a couple months before it came out, I went to go see 10 Things I Hate About You at some random theater in Abilene, Texas, where my sister was going to college, and the audio was bad. And we complained to the manager of the movie theater, and literally were saying things like if you guys don't get this fixed, I'm gonna send an email to Lucasfilm about how you guys don't have good audio. They're not gonna give you Phantom Menace, as if as these unbelievably, me at least, unbelievably obnoxious high schooler thinking things like that and saying things like that. And that's everything. The only thing that was on my mind leading up to the release of this movie was this movie. So the weekend it came out, I was very plugged in at my job at the time, so I didn't go opening night. And it wasn't, at the time, opening nights, midnight screenings, that stuff, it wasn't like what it is today, where they do the Thursday nights and stuff like that. I don't even think they did the midnight screenings at that point in time. And certainly, my mom wasn't going to let me go to a midnight screening after I'd been at work the day before. So I didn't end up getting tickets to go see it until Sunday. And I remember going to work on Saturday, and a couple of my coworkers had seen it, and being in that, I even specifically remember being in the lobby of the Chick-fil-A I worked at, sweeping up garbage while someone's like, yeah, I want to go see it. I mean, it's a lot of fun. There's some really cool action, but it's different. You have to keep that in mind. It is different. It's not the movies we grew up with, and remember the exact way that they're trying to balance the, clearly they weren't quite sure what they felt about it. They liked some things, but at the same time, they're like, I don't know, some of this didn't quite work for me. So I went to go see it, and as best as I recall, I enjoyed it from the first viewing. I wasn't someone that immediately was on the hate train or anything like that. I didn't go see it and be like, Jar Jar Binks, he's the devil and he ruined my child. I was never that person, I don't think. And I went to go see it like 4 or 5 times in the theater. And at the time, this was like 2 years after Titanic had come out. And Titanic, for 10 years until Avatar, was the highest grossing movie of all time. So Star Wars fans really, really, really wanted Phantom Menace to beat Titanic. Especially if Titanic came out when I was in high school, and I was like, this romance movie, they turned this tragic event into a cheesy this is outrageous. I was that guy when I was in high school. So then I would check every weekend the data on there's website that it was like Star Wars vs. Titanic.com or something like that. And they said the charts, and you could watch what they were doing. And Titanic didn't have like a gigantic opening weekend. It had a good opening weekend, but it just stayed at number 1 for like 4 or 5 months straight. That's how it made it. It just had unbelievably long legs. Phantom Menace opened red hot right out of the gate. Just killed it opening weekend, second weekend, and then it kind of petered off. So you're watching these charts as they're doing this, and Titanic's gaining, and I tracked all of that stuff. And I tended to be someone that I don't think I started getting cynical towards the prequels until more after Attack of the Clones, I think, is where I really started to be like, wait a minute. I don't think I like these as much. And so the one that I was most cynical towards when I first watched it was actually Revenge of the Sith, the one that's obviously the best of the prequels by a good bit. But that's the one where I went in a little bit more like, Lucas, what have you done? And so I was looking for it while I was watching the film. Whereas the first two, I just had a little bit more of just that youthful excitement as I watched them and could experience the fun of that initially. So I only have positive feelings about and positive memories about summer '99 watching the Phantom Menace, and I've never looked back. I just did not have like a single moment where I was like, ugh, gross, Phantom Menace. That just wasn't my experience with it. I didn't watch it like, why is there so much politics? I wasn't that person at all when I first watched it. I watched it just with youthful excitement, had a good time with it, and still to this day, I watch it every year, and I have my issues with it, of course, but I have a lot of fun with other things about it too. And so anyway, that's my take on it, of lifelong Star Wars person. So that movie was such an event in my life, of so much more so than even Force Awakens. Phantom Menace was gigantic when that happened. And so anyway, there you have it. My name's Sean Chandler from Sean Chandler Talks About, and I love Star Wars, and I think fondly of 1999.
But it was more about the event. It was more about the excitement, the anticipation. And it's like that kind of thing with Christmas, where you almost enjoy the 3 weeks leading up to Christmas more than Christmas Day itself. Because once it arrives, it's like, oh yes, it's Christmas. And then, by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're like, oh, all right, what's next? And for a lot of people, the film was like that. It was all build up, all anticipation, and yeah, all right. Well, let's hope the next one's better. But I think that there's a lot to the prequels that can still be mined today. But my personal experience with the film, dating back to 1999, is really much more about the excitement and the toys and all that kind of stuff. The extravaganza that was this new Star Wars film for the first time in 20 years almost. And I had been trained as soon as I got into Star Wars that was it. There was 3 movies and that was it. And then the rumblings came up and it was announced, and it was just, it was a fever pitch of excitement as a Star Wars fan. But looking back, I think maybe the build-up was a little bit more satisfying than the actual finished product.
To add on and let you know how I felt, what happened in my life in regards to Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace, I was one of those delusional people that watched the movie, enjoyed it, really liked Darth Maul, and liked the look of it, and that lightsaber scene at the end was quite awesome. They leave you really, really with a punch there. I remember being pissed that he was dead, guy said but 2 lines. So prequel folks had their Boba Fett, and I remember thinking, yeah, no, that was an okay movie. We got 2 more to go, but Darth Maul, pretty badass. Not Darth Vader badass, but double-ended lightsaber. Yeah, we got new Star Wars movies. And then slowly over the course of time, you watched it 2, 3, 4 times. And at that point, I was working at the movie theater, and I would watch it, for free. And, just making my way into the theater for theater checks, making sure nobody's filming or throwing shit at the screen. I would stick around and watch a scene or two, and it's one of those things where it slowly dawns on you that, this actually not that good. I've made a horrible error. This isn't really that good. I could actually do without the entire first half of this movie. You think about how episode 4, or you original folks like to call it Star Wars, A New Hope, it opens with this grand, this just incredible opening shot. And Phantom Menace just, they drop in on it like it's not supposed to be the introduction of a series, and just literal 2 Jedi drinking tea, waiting for somebody to enter a room. But it made a lot of money. People like me had to go back and recheck again and double check and try to convince themselves, convince myself that no, it just, you're not understanding it. There's politics in it. You remember all the politics from the original Star Wars franchise, the OG Star Wars, with all the trade routes and debates and blockades and Senate hearings. Yeah, it's just above my head. It's the insider for Star Wars fans. It's a few good men for Star Wars fans. Except A Few Good Men actually was entertaining, and people screamed and got you involved. But The Phantom Menace, yet another case of a film that maybe wasn't great, but it made money. And studios seem to learn from this. Big and vast. If you can cover a wide enough audience, you can make money. Just have big shiny stuff or big stuff blow up or whatever. I'm telling you, I think May 1999 is the first month that studios looked at the numbers, they looked at what the films were, and said, wow, And to finish off the month, we have Notting Hill, which is a praised romantic comedy with Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts was, I don't know, she was the it girl for those type of movies back then. She like, there was this segue between her and Sandra Bullock, and this was really at the tail end of her doing that stuff. But yeah, not great. People loved it, but you go back and watch it now, it's pedestrian. It's pedestrian. May 1999 has 3 movies that by name people could talk about and say, oh, sure, The Mummy, yeah, great. Star Wars Episode 1, yeah, huge. Notting Hill, oh, one of the biggest rom-coms ever. And substance, not as much. The substance in these films just isn't nearly as, you don't have Inception, you don't have Dark Knight, you don't have stuff like that. You don't have Fight Club. We'll get to Fight Club in a little bit. But May 1999, a month of big movies that made a lot of money, that maybe were imposters. Maybe, maybe not. We'll touch on this again later when we get to some of the films that failed in 1999. That's a couple of episodes down the road. Apologies to those of you who were waiting so long. It's been strange. It's been strange. I record this in 2020. The year is upside down. Everything's upside down. Trying to get people in touch to coordinate their videos and everything. Massive thanks to Luke of RAZORWIRE Reviews, Sean Chandler of Sean Chandler Talks About, Emily of Emily's Adventures in Horrorland, My House, the Britain Twit, all that jazz. So, I want these episodes to be something. I don't want these to be like reviews. I want these to be personal stories. And my personal story from May of '99 is I felt stupid, but only looking back at it. I thought I saw a bunch of movies that I really enjoyed, but only after time did I really figure out, oh man, it's like finding out there's no Santa Claus. You're just like, oh, man, I was stupid. That'll do it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, doing me a favor, letting me know to keep going, just click that thumbs up. That helps. If you want to see the rest of this series, there's a playlist somewhere up, down, below, left, right, ABA start. Check that out. Subscribing to see the rest of the series as it gets made. Or if you're watching this in the future, watch the whole rest of the series and what else we have on deck as far as greatest movie year ever. And click that bell too, because clicking the bell is massively important. I especially want to thank my patrons who, without them, none of this gets made. And thank you. Thank you is the words that we use, and I don't have better ones. So until next time, which we'll be talking about June 1999, I have been CP. You haven't. Have a day, or have a May. I could actually do without the entire first half of this movie. You think about how that's the movie police coming to get me.